Okay, guys, we are going to buzz through the Roaring 20s real quick. We have already covered everything about World War I that we need to know. Um, Make sure you go back through those, review if you need to. What is left in our unit is the Roaring 20s. So when we think of the Roaring 20s, we really need to think about how it's essentially a big 10-year party for America. We have a booming economy, there's a lot of political changes going on, and we start seeing more tensions in society stemming from World War I. This is also where we start getting mass media culture and the Harlem Renaissance. Okay, so the consumer revolution is when we had a flood of new affordable goods coming in. This is where credit got involved. Means you can buy without money if you guys know how credit cards work, which I hope you don't, and I hope you don't for a long, long time. But this is when you don't have money immediately, and so you can pay for it on credit and make payments along the way as you go. This worked when we especially had new big ticket items being turned out, like cars, more furniture, and appliances. We also get into advertising, and we talked a little bit about this in class and how it's psychological almost, and how it targets what you want and it makes you feel a certain way about a product or good so that you buy it. All right, this is where we start getting automobiles now. Henry Ford invented the Model T, and he used the mass production assembly line process to make it. He was cranking out cars every 90 seconds once he perfected this system. Everybody in the line had their own job, and it allowed for him to make goods at a faster rate. The influences of this: when you need to get work done on a vehicle, what do you have to do? You need to take it to a place that specializes in it. So because the automobile was invented, now there are garages to maintain them. There are gas stations for you to go refill, restaurants that you can drive to, motels, highways are constructed, suburbs, because now we can travel at greater distances in a quicker amount of time. All right, the bull market, this is one of your vocab words, refers to the stock market. And we had a period of rising stock prices in the 20s. When people were buying on the margin, it means they were buying stocks on credit. So, say they really wanted to buy stock in Apple, um, but they didn't have enough money right now. So they would tell the stockbrokers, well, let me buy it on credit, and then when I get my returns from my stocks, when they start making money, then I'll be able to pay you. And that kept going on this way, and more of a, well, I'll pay you when I get returns, just give it to me now and I'll owe you. And that is what started leading directly to a lot of turmoil within the stock market. We already talked a little bit about the Red Scare in class. You guys should remember my tangent about the Russian Revolution and what happened there. Um, Anarchists, I believe we've gone over anarchy at some point during the semester. It is when people who do not believe in any form of government form together. They are known as anarchists. We also had the National Origins Act of 1924. This limits immigration from Southern and Eastern Europe, understandably, because those are the regions that were involved in World War I and the Central Powers. All right, social and cultural tensions. The Scopes trial is also called the Scopes monkey trial. This took place because John Scopes, a science teacher in Tennessee, was teaching evolutionary theory, also called Darwin's theory of evolution, to students. When word got out that he was doing this, people were not happy. This is still a very biblical, Christian, evangelical type of society, and evolution goes directly against those values that were held. He was found guilty and fined $100. This was the first court case that was ever broadcasted on the radio. This is where we start getting to mass media. A lot of people were able to hear this trial without actually being there to see it. And if we really break it down to the nuts and bolts, the trial was really about creationists versus evolutionists. And there is a link right in there. I encourage you guys to download this PowerPoint, click that link, go watch it real quick. I believe it's like a 5-minute video on the Scopes trial. All right, we still have the KKK. This should be nothing new. It's a little bit about some review for you guys because we've had this since Reconstruction. But in the 1920s, we had about 3 million immigrants. The KKK had about 4 to 5 million members, and the sentiments got a little different. It wasn't just targeted towards African Americans anymore. Now they are promoting hatred against Catholics, Jews, as well as African Americans. All right, prohibition. We've been talking about this for a good bit, and now it's finally happening. The 18th Amendment outlawed the manufacture, distribution, and sale of alcohol. Now, granted, it did not stop companies from selling the hops or barley separately to consumers, and they would actually print on their box, do not mix this with fermented barley, do not mix this with this amount of water. It would tell them literally the exact ingredients and process of how to make beer. So there were workarounds on ways people were getting around it cleverly, but legally it was illegal. This is where bootlegging came in. It was a smuggling operation to get alcohol from Canada or Mexico. This is exactly where we get NASCAR from. NASCAR came from bootleg runners. We also have speakeasies, the illegal bars. If you guys have seen any movies dating to the 20s, you might see a scene like a bar, and you might even see a scene where they're raiding. Those are speakeasies, and they would often get raided by police to break them up. We also have gangsters. This is the age of Al Capone and organized crime coming into play. All right, mass culture. We are getting into more technology now. We have movies, we have radios. By 1929, over 10 million people own radios. It changed how people gained information. They have more access to it. It's like us turning on the news. They can turn on their radios at a specific time and hear what is going on in the world. This led to an idea of national unity, that everybody is together on the same page and they are all being informed. All right, mass media. This would be our newspapers, motion pictures. During this time, movie making became the 4th largest business in the country. Makes sense. It is currently now one of the biggest money-making businesses in the world today. Then we get sports and inventions. This is the time period of